Alright guys, welcome to RC Mojo. This week we've got a new project to work on. It's a DuraFly Tundra V2. These recordings are from the end of May, so I could test the model thoroughly myself and note anything during the build. Surprisingly, very little actually popped up. In fact, other than the wings being a bit of a faff to remove with the screw-on struts, it's really rather excellent. But I'm getting a bit ahead here. As far as the videos go, we haven't even taken it out of the box. The first surprise then is when you take the card off the bottom of the polystyrene box, you get the laser cut ply FPV mount, most of the large metal bits and the accessories. Now one of the problems I have here is my white box is really sized up to build 1/10 scale cars and trucks. The Tundra box only just fits, so getting the lid off is a bit problematic. In the past, I'd normally just move outside, but with the dump still being closed while filming this, I didn't have an easy way to get rid of the garden waste. So to save getting rid of the large pile of rotten grass, I've just left it to go a bit wild. Some of the grass has got close to 4 feet tall, which I think is quite impressive, but not really suitable for building an aeroplane. Anyway, a quick look in the top of the box and all you can see is more packing taped down. It's definitely designed to survive shipping from halfway around the world, so if it's not available in a local warehouse, I really wouldn't worry about buying long distance. Right, a quick run through of what you get then. You've already seen the camera mount, so next is the quick setup guide. Not hugely useful. For the build manual, you actually have to fetch a PDF from the Hobby King website, which you can print or have up on a tablet. Here's the carbon spar, very nice. Floats, which one day I hope to test. It's just a case of finding somewhere aeroplane friendly that has enough water. Wrapped in more packaging, we've got the fuselage, pre-wired with servos, ESC and motor. It's even got all the decorating done. Long gone are the days where an ARTF foamy needed lots of glue and rubber bands. One of the upgrades from version 1 is most of the screw holes have brass inserts, so if you're swapping between wheels and floats you're not wearing the plastic away with self-tappers. The tailplane just plugs together, and somewhere in the kit there's another carbon spar to keep it straight. On the bottom you can see the tube and the extra carbon bits to stiffen up the elevators. The wing, just like the fuselage, comes wrapped up for safety. And along the front edge they've got these slots to glue in optional turbulators. As a quick note, I got to try one with and without side by side, and they do make quite a marked difference to low speed handling. You get a bit more wiggle room when flying close to stall speed. On the wing you also get nice big ailerons and large flaps capable of 90 degrees. They really cut the airspeed when they're fully down. And I must admit, I still haven't fully quite got the hang of them yet. It's quite difficult to get a feel for when the stall's coming on, but they're still a lot of fun to play with. Into the bags now, and this one has the tail wheel and a bunch of linkages. You get a ball joint at one end and a 90-degree bend at the other, and a bunch of swing keepers to keep them on. This one has the huge tyres in. They have a plastic hub and moulded foam tyres. They're great, except the tyres tend to come off the hubs if you're landing a bit sideways. Space is becoming a bit of a premium, so we're going to reorganise a bit and get rid of the box. Next then we have this odd bit of foam. Now it's flat on one side and has a bit of an angle on the other. Now it's not obvious from what you get in the kit, but it's actually an adapter for a candy drop add-on. It fits up against the bottom of the fuselage to give a flat platform. It's nice that they include it, as it's going to be useful for hanging other things off the bottom of the fuselage too. In the bag we took out from under the box at the start of the video, we have the camera mount kit. It's laser cut and does fit together rather well. We'll put it together with a camera setup in a future video, but for now I can safely say that it does work a treat. We've got 4 lots of bent wire for the wheeled undercarriage and floats, the tailplane spar and a carbon prop. Now I understand swapping for an APC-E of the right size can improve the response a bit. It would also be a little bit easier to replace if you have a habit of breaking props. In this bag we have the water rudder, magnet for the FPV mount, and the 2 tail supports, which are generally seen as a complete waste of time. Now we might end up 3D printing something a bit later on that actually does work. We've got the 2 undercarriage springs. Now I think they're mainly for looks, as they're not really strong enough to do anything too meaningful. There's the cross braces for the floats, which just go between the floats and slot into some plastic mounts. These are the main wing struts, which are both ended and sided, making them a bit of a pain to fit and remove at the field. A couple of dabs of coloured paint would help quite a lot, but just by looking at them they're quite easy to get the wrong way round. So that's the kit contents. Let's have a closer look at that quick setup guide. You've got the control throws and the centre of gravity, which is all well and good, but it doesn't make for much of a build guide. I know pretty much everyone who ends up with one of these kits is going to have an internet connection, but I'd still like to see a full manual in the box. Having said that, finding a manual is easy enough. We need to go to the Hobby King website and do a search for the Tundra. Now, for some reason, Hobby King really wants to send me notifications, which interrupted the search. Really annoying. So if we do the last bit of the search again and tap on any of the V2 Tundra P&F kits, it doesn't matter which colour, the manuals are all the same, it takes us to the Tundra product page. Now we can scroll down quite a long way to below the description and tap on the file section. Inside there's the Tundra V2 P&F manual. It's a PDF which should open directly on any Android, iOS or desktop computer. Now there is a couple of advantages for download-only manuals. First, it will be a bit cheaper. Second, it's colour with really nice clear images. Third, it allows them to update the manual to correct mistakes. Or at least it would be nice if they corrected mistakes. Sometimes during the build you have to be a bit creative with the screw sizes. I think they included steps from the original V1 kit without updating them. But I suppose if you've assembled a few models before, none of that's going to pose all that much of a problem. It's just a bit of a surprise when a screw drops straight into a hole without touching the sides. In addition to the kit, you'll also need a couple more bits. First is a transmitter. Now you're going to need at least 5 channels: throttle, aileron, elevator, rudder and flaps. Any basic 6-channel radio will get you airborne. The ESC also has a reverse mode, which uses an extra channel. Very handy if you're on floats, as you can reverse away from the side of the water if you get stuck. You might also want to think about splitting the ailerons to 2 channels, so you can set up differential on the transmitter, and perhaps add an up aileron mix with the flaps for some crow brakes. Also, if you're going to try FPV, you might want another 2 channels for pan and tilt, taking the total up to 9. There's also the Candy Drop add-on, which would take you to 10 channels. It's quite a flexible setup really, and if you've been flying before you'll probably already have a suitable transmitter. Other than the most basic 4-channel units, pretty much anything will work. To go with the transmitter, you will of course need a receiver. I'm going to use an older 8-channel FreeSky with telemetry so I can get a feel for the signal strength. These days radios are good enough that you don't really need to worry about it, but it's still nice to be sure. Then we have the battery. Now the kit's designed to fit a good old 2200 mAh 3S with an XT60. It's a little bit surprising they didn't go for the 4S packs, as they do seem to be a bit more common these days. Suits me though, as I have a number of models set up for 3S. The only thing to watch out for is they do need quite a high C rating. 25C is quite common, but the model will draw enough current that they won't last long before they puff. These Rhino packs are 50C, and after much testing, they're still the original shape. Next, we'll have a quick look at the fuselage. Now it's very nicely finished. A long way off the old pre-built foamies, the paint and the stickers are all applied straight enough that they're going to look perfectly good from a distance. The fuselage has a couple of hatches for access. The one behind the wing is for the tail servos, as well as the platform for mounting the receiver. It's all very neat and tidy. At the front there's the window, or canopy, which comes away for battery access as well as revealing the ESC. It's just loose in there right now, but it comes with sticky belt velcro, so you can stick it to the side of the fuselage so it still gets some airflow. On the underside you can see all the air intake holes for cooling, as well as a very solid plastic undercarriage mount. The feel of the model really does have that good solid feel to it. Nothing feels flimsy or like it's about to fall off. Now I ended up deciding to print out the manual. It would of course be perfectly fine to build from a tablet, but trying to film the screen without reflections is a bit of a pain. Paper is a lot easier. There's quite a few pages, but the build itself is actually very quick. Half the manual is about the setup and accessories. The first step then is to flex all the hinges. Now for quite a few years now, foamies just use the foam itself for the hinge. Out of the box they're really stiff, but once flexed a few times the foam does soften up. It's important to do it right away so you don't end up overstressing the servos. I remember when, I think it was Multiplex and their Ellipore foam kits came out, that they had the foam hinges. The distrust was so strong that lots of builders were cutting along the hinge line and using traditional pinned hinges. Turned out they worked just fine, and they're now standard on pretty much all foamies. You really wouldn't think twice about them. Anyway, next up we fit the undercarriage. But if you've been keeping an eye on the time left in the video, you'll probably notice we're not actually going to be doing the build this week. So until next week, where we'll start doing the assembly, thanks for watching, like if you liked, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a message if there's something on your mind. Bye guys!